Doing a comparison of BTC versus BSV. That's the Bitcoin Satoshi vision versus the popular the popular one that everyone's trading. All right, so I'm gonna do a price comparison of the trading on the charts, which is actually pretty interesting. Um, and that's not it. This one, and then uh, and then I'm going to do a deep dive into the actual functionality of the Bitcoin blockchain and explain how the blockchain actually works and show you some stuff like nobody understands. There's so much like nonsense information about Bitcoin that I'm gonna clear up right now. All right, this is Brian Lewis coming to you from Medellin. Happy Easter from Colombia, and yeah, your Bitcoin spiritual advisor. This is not financial advice, but let's take a look at BSV. So BSV is the little known Bitcoin blockchain that actually follows the original Bitcoin protocol, and I'll explain a lot about that later. But just on the trading action, uh, it doesn't get the volatile, crazy movements, but it gets the same price flow from the market that the other blockchains are getting. So just comparing the BSV chart to BTC chart is pretty interesting. You can see that it topped out here April, May of 2021, and then it had a pretty steady downtrend from there down. And if you go over to the Bitcoin chart, the BTC chart, you can see April, May is here, this first peak, and you can see the same downtrend here, but it has this huge volatility. And so, yeah, I mean, if you just flip back and forth, you can see BSV is just pretty close on trend, like not much going on, not breaking out or doing anything weird. And Bitcoin's having this big volatile movement again. Um, and my position is this thing's coming back to the same trend. They're on the same downtrend. And I don't know how high it goes. I mean, I've showed several times on this BTC chart that we're at this neckline here. And the general market also, I mean, I'm not going to get into all of the other markets and stuff right now. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin. But yeah, anyway, just comparing the BSV versus the BTC, you can just see the downtrend. It's still on the same downtrend right now. And yeah, let's just talk about Bitcoin. Like BSV is designed to have high transactions and be scalable, and anyone can transfer cash back and forth without any third party networks. BTC, people are claiming that it's a reserve asset or something like gold. And who cares if you can actually transact cheaply because you just hold it? That's ridiculous. Totally not the point of why Bitcoin was created. Um, but yeah, BTC hit scaling limits like 2017, and the blocks don't scale. And then there's the Lightning Network, which is a third party system, pretty much just like a bank, where you're not actually transacting Bitcoin. Someone else is controlling it. But let's talk about Craig Wright. This is Craig Wright, who claims to be Satoshi, and he's the head of the BSV. Uh, Fork is not the right word for it, but just call it like version of Bitcoin. He claims Bitcoin SV is the original Bitcoin. He claims that he is Satoshi. He is also the chief scientist at InChain, which works on a lot of blockchain technology. He's a lawyer, banker, economist, pastor, coder, investor, mathematician, statistician, world curious. So yeah, this is Craig Wright, and I'm going to talk about BSV and what's going on legally and what's going on with the structure of BSV versus the BTC. And you can see the Bitcoin white paper is here on Craig Wright's page. And he's like, this is my white paper, I wrote it. And he's come out in court showing this a bunch of times. And people have said that he hasn't proven that he's Satoshi in court, but he's never had a court case where he's trying to prove he's Satoshi. Um, he had legal claims against certain Bitcoin wallets and stuff like that. But his big legal action, he is Australian, He lives in the UK now, and he has a lawsuit against the Bitcoin core devs. So the BTC people really don't like him because he constantly says the BTC chain doesn't work like hardly at all, and also um, copying the database is not legal. Like you can change the protocol, but you can't take a copy of the database and all the coins. And uh, he's gone through appeal, and this is going to full trial next year. And so this has been a series of smaller lawsuits, kind of building up to this. But again, like this case is not to prove that he's Satoshi. Like this is a legal case, and the main point of this is to show that Bitcoin is not anarchist. It's designed to operate under common law, and you can have court orders sent to the miners, to the nodes, and they can return stolen Bitcoin to people. Bitcoin's designed to operate under common law, and then it's designed for contracts, like any kind of contract. Like cash transactions is just one type of contract that's built in. But you can do any types of contracts on the blockchain, and those are legal contracts as well. It's not anarchist, and it's not anonymous. It's pseudonymous, where you prove your identity if you need to for law, but you're doing digital signatures. So signatures are a legal contract, and the blockchain is legal. If you're an anarchist, take a look at Monero. That's a scalable blockchain that hides stuff. Bitcoin is a public ledger, and most people are aware of that and somehow completely ignore that. And there's this whole anarchy situation. That's just not true. Yeah, so anyway, this is the BSV, Bitcoin SV website. It's just explaining how the blockchain operates under common law here, and this is called the blacklist manager. So all of the nodes on BSV have this ability to comply with laws. They can freeze transactions. They can freeze coins, and they can return coins that are stolen. So this is just talking about setting up the blacklist if you're a miner, but it's to have connections with notaries and bailiffs, right, and take court orders, and it's so you can freeze coins if there's a legal dispute, and you can take court orders and return coins to people that they're stolen from. And so the lawsuit that he has right now is saying this is what Bitcoin was created for. Well, not like for, but like this is a key thing in Bitcoin, is being legal under common law and being able to have stolen property returned under court order. And this is just functionally like how it works. Like this page is for like the miners to set up the system so they can comply under common law. But yeah, this is totally part of the Bitcoin white paper, and it's just part of Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin's not anarchist. That's a total like BS story that was made up. Yeah, and then this is just like the homepage of the Bitcoin SV. It's got like a fancy new website. But yeah, you can see another huge point with BSV is that it's scalable. The blocks on BSV are 4 gigs, and 4 gigs is just where it is right now, like this week. As soon as the scalability needs to increase, it's going to go to 8 gigs, 16 gigs, whatever it needs to be. I mean, I think 4 gigs is about big enough to handle every cash transaction on Earth as it is now, efficiently for way less than a penny. Original Bitcoin, yeah. And well, let's see, yeah. But yeah, see, like transaction times are less than 2 seconds, and the fees are way less than a penny. And so this is totally scalable, and I'll explain how it works and like why it's scalable, and the difference with the BTC branch right now. And it has to do with binary tree structure. So a binary tree is just a structure where you start with all the data. Say like you have like 8 transactions, and then you can hash those into 4 hashes, and then you hash those into 2 hashes, and then you hash that into 1 hash. It's just a tree structure that works its way down to a single hash. And so a hash just means that you can take a huge amount of data, or whatever size amount of data, and you just turn it into a little string. And then so this tree structure allows you to take, I mean, this is 4 gigs of transactions in one block, and then you just keep hashing it down until you get 1 hash for the block, and then you have the block hash. And so if you're a node, if you're a miner, like, you actually have all of the data inside of the blocks. It's huge amounts of data that are stored in huge data centers. But like, if you just have a Bitcoin wallet, you don't need all of that information. All you need is the hash for each block. And then let's go to the next one. This is the BSV Academy. If you want to learn about how like the tree structures or anything in Bitcoin works, this is pretty cool. I was just going through this course on the trees here this weekend, and yeah, you can you can just see here, like, here's, yep, 8, just what I was saying. Like, this is an example with 8, there's 8 transactions or 8 individual pieces of data here. And then you hash the data into just a string, and then you combine like these two into a smaller hash and these two into a smaller hash until you end up with one hash that represents the entire tree. And that's all. Most people just need the hash. And if you change one bit of data at all in the entire block, like, the resulting hash is completely different. Like, there's no way to make a mistake without getting noticed. And this is just for basic functionality. And also, if somebody tried to cheat and change something in the system, like, it's super obvious to absolutely everyone on Earth that the hash changed. Like, every wallet on Earth will notice, every miner will notice. And then proof of work makes it really expensive to be a miner. So if you get caught cheating, like, you're screwed. So that's what makes the system scalable, is this hash tree. So you can have huge amounts of data just hashed into a little string, and everyone can verify that the data did not change, which is super important. Like, the word crypto is absolutely nonsense. Like, crypto means this hash. Like, cryptography means you're hashing the data into a string. That's what the word crypto means in Bitcoin. It's not like some security protocol that makes Bitcoin all super special. You're just hashing the data into a little string, and then you give everyone the string, and then you can't cheat because everyone has a copy of the string. Like, it's just like publicity, everyone having a copy. That's why you can't cheat. That's why it's cryptographically secure. It's not some crypto security system. Like, you're just showing everyone a copy. It's just public. And so, like, a public ledger is saying this. Like, everyone has a copy of the hash. Like, everyone can prove it hasn't changed. But then, like, for your own transactions, you just need the hashes that lead down to your transaction. So on a wallet, that's pretty small. Like, you just need a hash for each block, which is a tiny string, and just the strings down to your transactions, and that's it. Like, that's all you have to carry. So it's super efficient. It's a huge amount of data hashed into like these small amounts of data that everyone needs to use. And then say there's like a court order for like 100 blocks ago or something. Like, you don't have to go back through millions of, you know, whatever, megabytes or gigabytes of data. All you need to do is go to the hash for that block, and you just follow the tree down to that data, and that's it. Like, all of the nodes could do that super easily, like, go down, and yeah, and so that's, I mean, basically how Bitcoin works. It's just a series of blocks in order, and then you can't ever mess with the order either, because you take this hash, you put it into the next block, and then that hash is hashed into the next block. So they're sequential. You can't change the order, and each thing has its own hash. It's very easy to notice if a hash changes. Like, you can't change like a little thing and get away from it. Like one little tiny change, one bit of information changes, the hash is completely different. So that's what makes Bitcoin scalable, is this tree structure. This is something that BTC people have no concept of. Like, they don't know why there's a tree in Bitcoin. It's to make it scalable, and their blocks are stuck at a tiny size, and it's not scalable whatsoever. That's why there's a tree structure in Bitcoin, so that you can hash huge amounts of data down to one little hash super efficiently. And then just if you need to go access the data, if you do it in reverse, you can just follow the hash tree back to the data. So it's super efficient in both directions. And yeah, that's how Bitcoin hashing works. That's why it's scalable, and that's where the security comes from, not from some cryptographic nonsense. It's secure because everyone has a copy of the block hash and nobody can change it. It's sequential because you put this block hash into the next block, and then you have proof of work, which just makes it expensive to create blocks. Basically, you have to compete um, and solve. I mean, people call it a puzzle, but really you're just hashing the block with a salt. Like you just put an extra string in and you hash it, and that just like arbitrarily has to be a tiny number. You're hashing it into a number that has to be really small, and this happens like way less than once out of 100. Like it's once out of 1,000 times or something. So people try to pick a salt that will hash to a tiny number, and when you get a solution that matches, then you get to create the block. So people compete over who gets to create the block. Um, and then you publicize the hash, and then the next block, people use that hash as an input for the next block. So that's it. It's just sequential. You can't cheat because it's public. It's super efficient because it's hashed down to a tiny string. And it's actually pretty simple. It's just a series of blocks like in a column. Um, but all the data is hashed, so it's tiny for everyone to verify it. Anyway, that's how Bitcoin works. It's just a really, really simple database structure. And the tree is super important. That's what makes it scalable. And that's what BTC doesn't do, is make it scalable. They changed the protocol. They took out the timers also. The timers are a key feature for contracts in Bitcoin in the white paper. BTC removed those for no reason, and they also made the blocks not scalable. So there's a tree hash in there, but you can't make the blocks bigger, so it's not scalable. So yeah, that's why there's Lightning Network. BTC doesn't scale. Like when it's high traffic, I mean, BTC has been like more than 50 cents per transaction. Like this is designed to send less than a penny around. You can't send a penny around for micropayments if you're paying 50 cents per transaction. So the blockchain, BTC blockchain is super slow and it's not scalable. And then you create a network like Lightning Network on top of it because it's not scalable. And then that's just like a bank. Like that's a third party network on top of Bitcoin where you're not transacting Bitcoin. Like that completely destroys the purpose of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is for people to individually transact, and not anarchy transactions. They're legal contracts under common law. It's a public ledger system. This is how Bitcoin actually works. Most people don't understand the basics of Bitcoin. But you can see the prices up here. Bitcoin is the majority of the market cap of all crypto stuff. Um, and this is just like one day of Bitcoin, like the BSV transactions, like all blockchains combined, like BSV is capable of handling more than 90% of transactions across all blockchains for like one penny or something. Like it actually works. It's super scalable. Like this is transactions across all of Earth, and it can scale more than this. Bitcoin can't scale at all. Like it's already stuck as of 5 years ago. Like it's scaled out 5 years ago. It doesn't work. Um, yeah, and so this is for transferring bitcoins back and forth. But it's also for any kind of legal contract. I mean, the blockchain is designed for any kinds of contracts. It's a legal system for cash transfer and legal contracts. And so this lawsuit that's coming up next year is gonna cover this. Like Bitcoin is legal. You can go win a lawsuit and you can get your Bitcoin back if somebody steals it. And then if miners are a node, like to be a node, that means you're creating a whole block. Like if you're like a miner, you're probably contributing some computing power to someone that is a node. But a node is someone that can create a whole block, and the amount of computer infrastructure you need to become a node is huge. And it's incredibly difficult to cheat because one tiny change and everyone on Earth will notice. and you'll lose your entire mining infrastructure. So it just, the proof of work and the system just makes it a really, really bad idea to try to cheat, because it's totally transparent. You will not get away with it. And then if you tried to do that and you got caught, like, you lose your entire mining operation, millions of dollars, and you're out of the system. That's why it's secure. The hash, the Merkle tree, the binary tree structure is why it's scalable, and you need scalable blocks with that, so you have increasingly large nodes to handle whatever transactions are happening. Um, so yeah, that's Bitcoin. And the real version of Bitcoin, whether Craig is Satoshi or not, everyone's debating that, whatever. Like, I think that he is, but my opinion, whatever. Um, but this branch of the BSV is the only blockchain that is the original Bitcoin from the white paper that actually scales. Like, this is it. Whether or not he was Satoshi or not, whatever. But like, BSV is the original Bitcoin. It does scale. It does work. And it's not intended to be some like Ponzi asset that goes to like $100,000. It's a protocol that transacts information, similar to the internet being a protocol that transacts information. And this is information for cash and legal contracts. Um, that's what Bitcoin is. And so this huge bubble since 2009, this everything bubble, um, is very similar to the dot-com bubble. The dot-com bubble was the beginning of the internet, and then a bunch of people that didn't understand how it works, like, piling on all this nonsense. And then there was the huge collapse that destroyed all of these fake kind of internet companies that had, like, no value really. But then you see the companies come out of the crash, like Amazon and Google and whatever, came out of the crash and became massive, hugely successful companies. But this bubble happened with the internet, and that was the dot-com crash. And now this bubble, this is the main thing that's going on right now, is this Bitcoin bubble. This is the new protocol. This is the new, not like the new internet, like it's going to replace the internet, but it's a new protocol in addition to the internet that's going to be hugely important, unless it gets destroyed. But it's pretty hard to destroy it. You know, it's a totally distributed system, and it's compliant with law. It's not against government. It's not meant to be a reserve asset. It's not against government. It's a legal transaction system. It's a databasing system that's legal under common law. Yeah, like, people have no idea what Bitcoin is, but that's what it is. And this court case, Craig is going to go to court next year, and he's going to prove that this is what Bitcoin is in court, and he's going to get a court order to get coins back that were stolen a while ago. And the coins don't matter. Like, what matters is he's going to prove that Bitcoin is a legal databasing system for legal contracts under common law, is what's going to get proved. And it's going to prove that BSV is the functional version of that system. And he'll probably have more lawsuits after that, because you can't, like, the protocol is open source. You can take the protocol, you can change it, do whatever you want. The database itself and all the coins in the database are not open source. The creator owns those. You can't just copy all the coins and take them. So there's probably more lawsuits coming. But in any case, this is Bitcoin, and this is how it actually works. Trees, trees, trees. Huge scalable blocks, 4 gig blocks, huge blocks, scaled down to one tiny little hash that everyone can hold, under legal court orders. Yes, you can prove if somebody stole stuff. Yes, you can go to court. Yes, you can get your coins back. No, this is not an anarchist system. This is going to trial next year. So heads up on that. As far as like a legal black swan for BTC, that isn't happening for a year at least. But functionally, yeah. I mean, speculating, the actual white paper here. And there's Craig, right? So yeah, as far as speculating on the price of stuff, like have fun. In terms of actually building anything on the blockchain, BSV is the blockchain that works. Like, this is Bitcoin, and it's not meant as a big speculative thing. It's a protocol that you build stuff on. That's what it's designed for. So yeah, I guess we can look at. I think this just moved. Yeah, did that move? Are we getting market action? Oh yeah, we're getting a little bar. So yeah, this is just kind of floating here. I'll look at the S&P real quick. So we're just kind of in this down channel. Don't know if we're going to turn down or break out of here. Um, this is a pretty interesting spot. And the interesting thing, I think, here is we're getting a divergence here on the NASDAQ. But you can see Bitcoin and the NAS are in the same down channel, except that the NAS is throwing a divergence. So that's interesting. Where's the dollar now? Is it rallying? I'm expecting the dollar to rally. I think it's going to rally out of this downtrend. But yeah, anyway, if the dollar goes strong, that'll correlate with a down move in the stock market. If it goes weak, that'll correlate with an up move in the stock market. So the dollar is important now, but it's not really a leading indicator. We have VIX at a critical level. This is super long term building. The VIX has just been building and building and building volatility since 2017. You have the Volmageddon 2018 crash, COVID crash. We have this little pull up here for the little bear market that we had the past year and a half, and boom, we're right back. We're right back at the trend where it could move up. So this is a dangerous spot on the market. And yeah, just back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin pretty much follows the market. And yes, if you look at BSV, you can actually see the action of Bitcoin versus the, the money flows, because it's not volatile and crazy. You can just see the flow. The Bitcoin price is a lot harder to follow because it's out of control. But yeah, it's the same downtrend. It's that same downtrend. And I think that's coming. I think all of this is happening. I think we're coming down in the short term, like really soon. Like one little stab up here is, I would think, the last we could get on this. It might come down straight from here on BTC. And then the most important chart ever is where we actually are in the cycle. The down moves are where you crash. The sideways moves, particularly at the bottom, are where you rally. And so we're at the top. And so at the top you get volatility, and it's hard to. Oh, whoa, look, it popped up to the top of the channel again. So we're still consolidating here. This is the biggest volatile bear flag in the history of the credit cycle markets. There's one sort of similar bear flag like this. There's one similar bear flag to this in the financial crisis. But basically, if it goes sideways, you could get bullish activity for a while. Up puts more pressure on the markets, but it's not too crazy, and down means that the Fed is pivoting and we're coming down in interest rates, and everyone's saying like a Fed pivot is going to be beneficial somehow, but that's not true at all. Like, the down moves are where markets crash. It's where credit contracts. And so yeah, we have this big technical bear flag right here that looks like it's about to move, most likely to the downside really soon, like in the next 2 days, I think. And yeah, if you just go back and look at the credit cycles, like this is COVID, the big down move here, and you get these volatile moves are corresponding with like the Volmageddon 2018 crashes. So the tops are volatile, the down moves are dangerous, and then sideways here at the bottom is the huge run from 2008. We had like 10 years of bullish stuff there. And these down moves are the financial crisis, the Lehman Brothers, the first half and the second half. And you can see here, this is another similar bear flag. We went sideways at the top. We flipped over into a bear flag. This is the Lehman Brothers bear flag. and that led to this on the downside. And so if we just go back and look at the bear flag that we have now, it's a lot bigger and more aggressive bear flag. It's more volatile, and we're coming right to the end of it now. So yeah, this is super interesting. Yeah, and it's popping back to the top of the channel now. So I'm thinking just a couple more days, and this thing should pick where it's going to go. And all of the just kind of sideways activity, I think, is going to switch into some violent moves here. But yeah, here we are at the top of a really steep cycle with the most volatile bear flag in history. And this is not the Lehman Brothers bear flag. This is the Silicon Valley Bank, all and Signature Bank and First Republic, whatever. There's like 5 banks. Um, yeah, pretty similar. The Lehman Brothers was the same kind of thing. A bank collapse bear flag right at the beginning of the down cycle. So I think that we're in the same spot. So good luck with the trading, and hopefully this helps you understand what Bitcoin is. And yeah, if you're super bullish long term on BTC, you have been warned. Not financial advice, but that blockchain is a busted, broken blockchain that doesn't scale and will not function long term. Um, not unless they change the protocol again, which I don't think they'll do. Yeah, that's all the things. Oh yeah, the like button or whatever. Yeah. All right.